Did you hear about the professional violinist who lost her career after equipment malfunctioned in a Pilates class? I'm going to include some tips in this video of how to make sure either yourself or your clients are safe on Pilates equipment, but I want to talk about this. I've had quite a few people comment that I'm so cautious, this is so unrealistic, no one's going to hurt themselves in Pilates class. This is why I talk about this stuff. This entire situation would be an absolute nightmare it is a nightmare for this woman, this client who just wanted to feel better after having a baby, for the teachers, for the studio owners. What I did not expect to see was that Sebastian Legray was actually involved in this case, even though it wasn't a Legray studio, but basically explaining what I've been saying as well, that not all equipment is the same and not all of the safety features are the same, and we have to think about that with how we are building these classes, like what exercises we're doing. I've known for a very long time that Sebastian Legray and I are saying the same thing. This equipment is not all the same. We have to think about it just like we do with climbing equipment, outdoor equipment. It might be built for one activity very, very well, but that doesn't mean that it's built for another activity and vice versa. I'm not going to get into the private investigator side of this story. It's just so awful. If you want, you can look it up. But okay, concrete tips. So if you are an instructor, a teacher, a client, here's the things you can look out for in Pilates equipment. So this case happened because of a foot bar malfunction. As I understand it, there wasn't a safety mechanism so the foot bar couldn't move. You can see mine also can move. There's not any kind of pinning down that happens. There are certain exercises I don't teach on this reformer. This reformer, you can see, has these that slide in to lock it in place. So I check those. There's also certain exercises I just won't teach because you have to consider, is it safe to put your full body weight on it? That's also something you want to think about with foot bar and just equipment in general, is the weight limitations. How much weight and pressure can you push in on these things? This one I think is really important. So if you have a piece of equipment with this kind of mechanism on, you want to check that this ring, the metal, doesn't get worn down over time, because as this gets used, it can start to wear it down and it can get really, really thin. I haven't had this in my studio, but I've seen images of them where they've been about to break. If there's any kind of carabiner mechanism on it, you want to make sure that it has something that will lock it and also that they stay locked. These can get loose with use. I have seen that in my studio. And the last one is springs. You want to make sure that the spring is nice and straight, that there's no little kinks, there's no gaps between the springs, because that can indicate that it's getting worn out and they can break. I haven't had that, thankfully, in my studio. I check my springs, but I know of people who it has happened to. So I do regular checks on my equipment just to make sure everything is still physically looking good from just normal wear and tear. But again, this is why I think about what exercises I'm doing myself, what exercises I ask my clients to do, because these accidents can go from not big deals to very serious very quickly. And I don't want that to happen to you or anyone you know. The whole point of this is to feel better in your body.